Hello and welcome to our video/webinar called the Fortune Price Lifts. And this is a unique and proprietary program just for us here at Fortune Weavers Academy that allows us to help homeowners make the most of their bad situation and flip their own house. So we bring in the money, we bring in the crews, and we manage a flip for the homeowners. So they tend to make an additional $100 on average, depending on the situation, and we make a decent fee for doing that. We're not going to make as much as a flip, but we also don't take on all the financial needs, and we don't take title. So we have a lot less liability, and we can get a lot more of these as a result of the option of helping someone make more money for themselves rather than for us. And I don't know about you, but I'd rather be the hero and not the villain, and this allows us to do that. Part of the reason why we created this program, I'd been doing it for years just to help out homeowners that I would list their properties for. And but what happened along the way is somebody saw me in a restaurant. They knew I was the person that bought their house. They pointed me out, made me feel kind of bad, and I realized I could use my skills to really help people. And I'd probably make a lot more money in the long run with volume versus missed deals, because I'm pretty conservative in my approach to investing in flips. So we could actually make a lot more money with this program over the long haul, especially with our financial backing that we have in place now. And we'll talk about that in this presentation. So here we go. Let's take a look at current market conditions. So we are still in a seller's market. I believe we're coming to sort of the end of that, but we have another year and a half in that current condition. We have low inventory, means we don't have a lot of houses for sale as compared to the amount of people that want to purchase. So as long as those numbers are lopsided, we will see housing prices continue to increase or not decline. Let's just put it that way. We don't have a lot of new builds. So the way they look at this is permits for new construction. They're still very low compared to years past. And so again, that's an indicator that the market's going to stay where it's at. Still low interest rates. So let's talk about that. Interest rates are considered low if they're below 6%. 6% to 7% is a norm. And then once we hit 8% above, that's considered a higher interest rate. So as long as we're below 6, if you get an interest rate below 6%, you're in good shape. We're still around 4.25%, 4.5% right now, currently in 2018, late 2018, but we will see that, I believe, go up to a normal rate at close to 6% by the time this is done. And we still have people just not making a lot of extra money. We're not seeing cost of living increases and things like that. People aren't getting a lot of raises. So until that changes, you're going to kind of see the current situation just stay the same. Who's our target market? Well, we have a lot of target market clients that we could be hitting, so you just kind of have to pick one and go after it. Houses that have been sitting on the market. So when you see days on the market and it's above 60 days or more, there's usually a reason. So usually there's 3 reasons why houses don't sell quickly. It's location, condition, and price. Let me repeat that. There's 3 main reasons why houses don't sell: location, condition, and price. We can't do anything about the location. We're not in the business of loading up a house, jacking it up and sticking it on a flatbed and, moving it across to another place. So we don't do that. So we can't affect that. What we can do is fix up the house so that they can get the price that they're looking for, close to it in most cases. So we can affect 2 out of 3, which is really cool. So a house that's been sitting on the market for 60 days or more, perfect target for us. Now, if you're licensed, and that house is still listed, you are breaking the rules if you go talk to that homeowner. What I would do in that situation is talk to the realtor and see if you can work out a deal where we come in and make sure they make money before that thing expires. Most contracts are for 6 months. So if it's 60 days in, they have 4 months, it's not moving. They either need to start dropping the price, which is going to make them look bad, or we have to figure something else out. Then we have expireds. This is the perfect opportunity because now it's not listed, and anybody, even if they're licensed or not, can go and talk to that homeowner and talk about the benefits of our Fortune Price Lift program. Now, usually, again, if it's expired in this market, we're in a seller's market. So if it's expired, they had the price too high, or the condition just wasn't, it didn't match what they wanted. So it expired. Or the location is bad. Again, it might be right next to a freeway and no one wants to buy a house next to a freeway. FSBOs, FSBOs, those are for sale by owners. Another great opportunity to go talk to someone who doesn't want to use an agent, who wants usually top dollar, and they don't want to pay a lot of commissions for it. So it's just a great opportunity for us to offer something different. Probates. Now, a probate is where someone did not have a living trust and someone passed. And so that property moves through a court process called probate. And the court will assign a referee for value, and generally the family will hire an attorney, a probate attorney, that will walk them through the process. And there's fees attached to that. Many times, the houses that go into probate are from elderly people that didn't have the money to keep their house fixed up and maintained. So a lot of these houses had deferred maintenance, and if we can get approval from the court, we can go in and do our price lift program and work with those realtors and attorneys and families to get them the most amount of money possible that they can split amongst themselves. Better yet, a living trust. So if someone has a living trust, they get to skip probate altogether. Someone's passed, and then we need to talk to the administrator of the trust and talk to them about how to get them the most value for that house, because they're going to have to split with siblings or other family. Non-owner occupied properties. These are rental properties that are run down. A lot of landlords are not spending money on these properties because it affects their bottom line, their net profit. So you'll see a lot of rental properties that still have asphalt driveways and wood garage doors and things like that. And so those are houses that we can come in and especially in a seller's market, and talk about what we can do to get top dollar for them. And the great part is we don't have to move anybody out. It's not a homeowner that we have to give moving costs to. It's usually we're waiting till that property is vacant, and we can move in and do what we need to do. Evictions. If you've ever owned rental property and you go through an eviction, there's a good 80-90% chance you've thought about selling your property because it's a pain in the butt. It's frustrating, and you just think, you know what, I don't need this problem anymore. Let me sell. Let me get top dollar for it. So we can do that with our price lift program. And then there's just anyone who wants top dollar for the sale of their house. Sometimes we're doing just a kitchen remodel. We've done paint and flooring, things like that. That allows people to get a lot more money for their house. It's always circumstantial, so it depends on the circumstances, but in many cases we can help them. What's our hook? Well, if I could guarantee you top dollar for the sale of your home, would it be worth 30 minutes of your time to find out how? Again, I'm not a fan of these simple one-word answers like yes or no, but this is a simple way to do it. If I could show you how to make, or if I could guarantee you top dollar for the sale of your home, would it be worth 30 minutes of your time to find out how? Here's another one. If I could show you how our average homeowner is making an additional $100,000 working with us, would it be worth 30 minutes of your time to find out how? I'm going to give you another twist. A better way of doing this is to say, Mr. Johnson, what would you do if someone could show you how to make an additional $100,000 on the sale of your home? What would you do in that situation? Heck, I'd want to find out how. Great. I have just the people I'd like you to sit down with. It's only going to take a few minutes of your time. When would you like to do it? Tuesday or Thursday evening? Just do that. It works. And schedule the meeting. All right, so what are the benefits to the homeowners? We need to know this. Well, we bring in the money for rehab and construction. Not always. If a homeowner has the money and they just need the construction help, that kind of changes things, right? So they don't have to pay the 10% fee for the money. But we in most cases are bringing in the money. Otherwise, they would have already done it. Homeowner gets close to our pricing on rehab and construction cost. We're going to up it a little bit, right? Just in case there's any problems. Just we've learned that through experience. We want to up it a little bit. We can pay the mortgage while we fix and sell, so we can actually have them move on to another place, pay the rent or mortgage there, and we'll pay the mortgage on this through the process. Again, we can provide moving or transition money if necessary. Homeowner must, let me repeat, must move out during this process. We do not want people there while we have construction going on. It's a liability issue. And more importantly, we don't want them to like the house and want to stay in the end. Guarantees top dollar for the home. A fixed up house statistically will always sell for a house that's run down. Makes sense. That's just common sense. What are the benefits to us? Well, we get the listing at 3 to 4%, just the listing side. That's not the selling side. So we may do a 6.5% listing fee agreement. We take 4, the buyer's agent gets 2.5%, and if we double end it, we get the 6.5%. So if you take a $500,000 property at 4%, that's 20 grand right there, just for listing the property. We charge 10% management fee, or 10,000, whatever's more, unless the price lift is super light. So if we're just doing paint and carpet, we're not going to charge 10 grand. But if it's a normal one where we're actually putting some effort in, we need to get paid $10,000 for that. So generally our profits range from 20 to 50. Very rarely will it ever be less than that. And these are much easier to get than flips, especially in our current market conditions. Right? And we offer to help them buy their next house below market. And we share with them our home renovation purchase program. Something I haven't added into this, let's go back to what are the benefits to the homeowner. Also, if they work with us, we are going to gift them into our membership program so they can actually help other people do the same thing we're doing for them. And second, we are going to gift them a resort stay. So we encourage them to try to borrow a little extra money for the flight and the taxes so that they can go on a nice vacation while we work on their home. All right. What are the benefits to the people that are financing this? Well, their money's secured. So when you're talking about bringing in investors, you want to know it's secured. It pays a 10% flat fee, right? So if they lend 50 grand, they get $5,000 back in 4 to 6 months. If they did that twice a year, that's a 20% return on investment secured, ladies and gentlemen. Good luck finding that anywhere else without a lot of risk. Traditionally, we've paid our investors 12% annualized, which would only be $2,000 to $3,000. So it's almost double many times what they would be getting in the same amount of time. And our investors get paid before we do. So when the house sells, they get paid first, and then everybody else gets paid after. And then we have our $25 million fund, $25 million allotment. Okay, the way this works is we do an appraisal, and they will give us up to 75% of its current value, right? So if it's worth $400,000, they're going to give us $300,000 towards that project. If we need to go above and beyond that, we would need to bring in extra money as gap money, another investor. They're going to charge us 2 points on that. So again, if we're borrowing $300,000, that's $6,000 just in origination cost. There's some junk fees. They have an attorney that runs and processes this. You have an appraisal fee, and that varies. And property has to be vacant. So they will basically send somebody over and check on the property and make sure everything's been moved out and nobody's living there. And they don't want to be in a second position. They have programs for that, but in most cases they want to be in a first position without any. They don't want to take a second position. That's why they replace the first. All right, and the actual homeowner is the one that is attaining the financing and signing loan docs with our assistance. We are not doing that. It's getting secured the same way if they went to Bank of America. It's a program that Bank of America would never have that allows us to take care of a situation for them, no matter if they're in bankruptcy, foreclosure, or what, which is pretty special. Must have an appraisal done. So we have to figure out as is value and future value. Very, very important to the investor. And then you have the PACE and HERO programs. So these allow our homeowners no out-of-pocket cost at all, nor does the other one, by the way. We can qualify them quickly. We can get up to about $80,000 for repairs, all for energy efficient improvements. And what we can do is we can charge a little more for, like we could charge $20,000 for air conditioning. It's going to cost us $8,500 or something like that, and use the other $12,000-ish for other things. They just can't have a bankruptcy in the last 2 years or to be discharged for 2 years, right? So if they did have one, it would have to be 2 years. They'd have to have it discharged 2 years or prior. And on their current mortgage, we don't want any lates for 12 months. All right? We don't want to show this program any sign of weakness or inability for the homeowner to pay their mortgage. And there has to be at least 10% equity in the home, means that they're at 90% loan to value, which would be if let's say their house was worth $400,000, right? They would have to have $40,000 of equity, or they would have to be at $360,000. They don't have to make any payments for a year. It's attached to their property taxes. This needs to be explained because they're going to get a really high bill in their property taxes, and they generally have 20 years to pay this off. So it's 20 years in their property taxes. So it allows the person who can't get, they don't want to do it with a credit card. Interest rates are too high. Usually these are under 10% in interest cost, and again, over 25 years. And they can get all the rebates from the energy efficiency. So if they'll be showed how to apply, and that really helps them out. So step one, we want the fact-finding meeting. That's called the initial meeting. I call it fact-finding. Meet at the property, build a rapport, earn their trust, get a feeling for what this homeowner really wants. So you have to ask questions to figure that out. If you're doing all the talking, you have no idea what the homeowner wants. So we got to figure out what their agenda is and what they're looking to do. Are they looking to keep the property? Have they decided they're going to sell? Do they already have, and a good indicator of that is they already tell you where they're going to go. And I often ask, hey, if you could go anywhere, where would you move? Why not do that now? Paint that picture. Okay, we do our own inspection. We are now going to include an official, kind of a desktop inspection, a building inspection. We want to know if there's anything that's going to pop up that might be a change order in the attic underneath the house. This places we're not willing to go. Have the PSI checked, make sure the plumbing's checked, so our contractors can't tell us that, oh, there wasn't any copper plumbing when there was, things like that. Want to look at the location, condition, and the comps should be explored before that visit. So we kind of want to go in knowing what we're up against. Okay, we want to get a contractor to visit that property as soon as possible. Bid should be available within a few days, because once we go, I call it Pandora's box is open. Once you open that can of worms, they're talking to realtors, they're starting to kind of figure out what they're going to do. You kind of got that momentum started, that thinking. The bid should look professional. Otherwise, we could lose the deal. Pricing should be what we would expect on one of our flips within reasons. Right? So we're probably going to up it a little bit. I'm not going to get it quite as cheap as we would on a flip. Here's what the bid should look like. Here's one from our 187th place in Gardena. So you can see the bid on that. This was the original. $59,780. You can see. Okay. We analyze it. We come up with an as-is value. We want to run comps to come up with our after repair value based on the bid. We run the numbers to see what creates a win-win for both parties. We want to make sure this is going to really help a homeowner out. And, we want to make some money doing it. We don't want to work for free. Nobody wants to do that. So here's kind of how that looks. It's very simple, easy to read. Sale price projected, $560. Renovation cost paid by investor. This is not on that property, by the way. This is a different one. $70,000. Okay, we're charging $10 as a project management fee. Sometimes we term it a JV facilitation cost. There's the realtor fees, closing costs. Those are just going to be there regardless. We have some holding, and loan amount owed $73,000. So after all is said and done, okay, this person's going to make $360,400, or we can offer them $375,000 cash, and there's no realtor cost. We can cover the closing, or we try to sneak that in there sometimes. We don't want to have to cover that. They still owe $73,000. They're going to make $298,000. So would you rather make $360,000 or $298,000? And I always ask people, how important is $60,000 to you? How long will it take you to save that? Is it worth waiting 4 months to have $60,000? That's $15,000 a month that you're making more if you wait 4 months. Just have to word things that way. So we create this proposal. We draft a JV agreement, a deed of trust. That's what protects the investor's money. A promissory note does the same. Those are the two important documents for our investors. The JV agreement protects us, and it protects our investors. It shows exactly what we were going to do. We have our financials. We have a comparative market analysis report, or a list of comps. That's comparison sales within 3/4 of a mile, 15% up or down of the actual square footage of the house. like for like. Always want like for like. We want to have a memorandum of option in place that protects us in the event that we see the homeowner twist. And then we have a purchase agreement with an option to buy agreement attached to that that gives us 2 years to buy it at a price of our choosing. So we have them sign that and make sure we're clear. Again, here's an old one we did in 2017, JV agreement. This is one we did with Matt Polani. And we were bringing in $98,935. We were going to protect that with a deed of trust. Promissory note looks like that. Memorandum of option gets typed out, gets notarized. We have a purchase agreement, which is standard. And then we have an option agreement. And if you look here, April 4th, 2017 to April 4th, 2019 gives us 2 years to protect ourselves in the event that the homeowner maybe wants to stay or something like that. So we just want to make sure we have this in place so that they can't sell the house from underneath us. Here's the financials. Right, purchase price $850. We put in $98,000. It's 1,570 square feet. We believe it'll actually, we bought it. So this is basically what they owe on it, right? This is what we think it'll sell for, 1.150. And if we do it quick, they're going to make some extra money. And again, we're pretty conservative on these numbers, and it has all of our funds built in. And if it sells, if you look back here, this is with it selling at kind of worst case scenario, 1.150. And then we go, well, here's what we think it'll sell for best case, 1.3. And then you're making, you know, $200,000 instead of 50 or 60. So the option's there to get the highest dollar amount possible. And usually that's what a house will do when you fix it up right. Here's what a proposal looks like. Okay. Sale price projected $560. Renovation $70. Here you go. Here's all the costs. Homeowner should walk with about $360,000. That's the proposal. Oh boy, we got rid of that 6-week period because not always able to do that. So we have to be more realistic on what we say that a house, how long it'll take to fix a house. Especially like in this one, we actually converted it from a 2-1 to a 3-2 with permits. It's not going to get done in 6 weeks. So we need to probably change that to 3 months minimum. All right, so you can kind of see how this looks. Again, would you rather make $298 or $360? Usually they're going to say $360 if you explain it correctly. Here's your comps. Lately, I'm just taking a screenshot of the comps that come up on the MLS. Here, I typed it into an Excel sheet and it created averages. In my experience, you just don't have to do that. You just got to show them what top dollar is in that area, like for like. Frequently asked questions. Can I invest my IRA money? Yes, please. If you have an old IRA, convert it to a self-direct and you can invest in these projects and make 20%. Minimum 16, because if, you know, worst case is what we're going to do is we'll have the investor invest in one price lift and one flip, and they should earn 16% on average. But yeah, if you do a self-directed Roth IRA, all that's profit, no tax. So one of the smartest things you can do. How do we help homeowners net more money when they sell their properties? Our investors fund the renovation of their properties so they can sell it for top dollar versus accepting lowball offers. Our investors receive the capital they invest back plus a negotiated percentage of the sale price of your property. Let's say the investor agrees to spend $60,000 on their property in exchange for a return of capital plus 8% flat fee. Right? So we can kind of wiggle between 8 and 10 on that. Is the investor extending a loan to the owner? If it's our personal investors, the answer is yes. If it's the fund that backs us, so we have another fund that backs us that I didn't talk about on here, the answer is no. They actually are not doing loan. They actually take title on that particular one. How is the investor secured? They're secured with a promissory note or a promissory note secured by a deed of trust that gets recorded. Promissory note does not get notarized and recorded, What the deed of trust does, it gets recorded at the county recorder's office and it shows up as a lien against that property. They cannot sell, refinance, or do anything financially with that property without paying that lien off. How are we secured? We're secured with a joint venture agreement outlining roles and expectations. That's what protects us. Once in a while, you're going to have somebody twist on you, but most times they will not. They sign an exclusive listing agreement with us as well as a purchase option that allows us to buy the property at an agreed price. We also record a memorandum of option placing a cloud on title. How is the investor ensured that the property will sell before his option expires? We will market the property as we would as flippers. We want to make sure we do our due diligence and back our pricing up with comps. We inform the homeowners that we may need to drop the price if market conditions dictate. Hey, things can change in 6 months. No doubt about that. Can the owner buy us out? Sure. We just got to get our profitability. I don't have any issues with someone buying us out if they like the house. Most of these people can't afford it, but if they could, maybe they came into some money along the way, sure, they can buy us out. We just want to make the money we were promised. Who manages the renovation? We do. That's what we're getting paid for. Our project managers do. How is a contractor paid? We control the money from our investors and pay the contractors to make sure the job gets done in a timely manner. Can the owner get out of the JV agreement if they change their mind? Yes, it can be canceled by the owner for any reason up until the investor wires the money. So if the money hasn't been wired, they can still cancel. What happens if the owner and investor have a disagreement they can't settle? In the case that the agreement calls for a mediator, the JV agreement states that both parties will go through arbitration to resolve the issue. How long does a typical joint venture take to complete? 4 to 6 months. Make sure you're honest about that unless it's a major construction job, historical house, something like that. Addition, ADUs, those things will take us longer. It's usually 8 months. What kinds of properties typically work? Single family condos, multi-units. We want quick ones. That's our preference just because market conditions can change so quickly. No commercial or new construction. That's not what we're geared for, not in this program. General rule, we want to stay under 75% loan to value. Why? We have a lot of money for that. That makes the most sense for us as a company. Does the property have to be vacant or can it be occupied? We prefer it to be vacant unless it's a small renovation. All right, so we prefer it. How much do you make? Average house sells for $500,000. If we list at 3%, that's $15,000. Property management fee of $10,000, that's $25,000. If the student brings in the money and is licensed, they get 50%, period. If student is licensed but does not bring in the money, they get 50% of the listing. That's where they have their license. If student brings in the money but is not licensed, they get half the property management fee. If student is not licensed nor brings in the money, they are entitled to only 25% of the project management fee. If it's $10,000, you're only getting $2,500. So in this business of price lifts, you're going to want to be licensed and you want to bring investors to the table. A lot of times these require $50,000 or less. It's not that hard to find that kind of money. Not in this business, not with those types of returns. All right, this is a time you can ask any questions. If you receive this as a video, you're going to go ahead and email your questions to team@fortuneweavers.com. That's TEAM@fortuneweavers.com. If this is a webinar, we will be opening it up for Q&A in just a minute. Thank you for listening. That concludes our presentation. Go get you some price lifts, guys. All right, Coach Weaver, we'll see you on the flip side.